Mr. Trump is only the second former president in U.S. history to be reelected to the White House. He will return to office after 2 impeachments in his first term, followed by unprecedented criminal indictments and felony convictions.
This is the worst poll that Donald Trump has received in his second term, and we can go through it, Jessica.
So, Donald Trump's the kind of guy who always finds himself in the news one way or another. Love him, hate him, can't ignore him. And Family Guy knew this. So in 2019, the team decided to make an entire episode tearing the guy apart, fittingly named Trump Guy. But how did they do it? How did people react? Well, let's talk about it.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Springfield's from a different show, Don, but we get the gist. The episode begins with Stewie feigning surprise that Peter is working for the White House. But when his producers ask him to do another take with a bit more energy...
No?
Take it or leave it, but he doesn't get paid enough for this crap. As it turns out, Peter was hired by the Trump administration at the end of the previous episode, Hefty Shades of Grey. Trump takes Peter around the White House, pausing to briefly play his part as a loving father to his kids.
Dad, I got one in my mouth. Tremendous. Amazing.
What's funny is that Eric is also the one who got snubbed by his dad when he was called to say that he loved him at a pep rally. So props to the Family Guy creators for staying true to Eric being the least favorite son. Peter's new job is to go into each room before Trump and check for static electricity, a stupidly easy task that even a mouth breather like Peter can handle. He and his family move into their new home in Washington, D.C., where he jokes that an intern was killed in every room of the place. Meg's not too happy about this move, but not for the reason you might expect.
Tomorrow at James Woods High, it's Scoliosis Spine Check Day. It's the one day a year I get touched.
Careful what you wish for there, Meg. You're in D.C. now, after all. The Griffins attend their first White House party, although several people there mistake Meg for former Governor Chris Christie. The waiter then makes an oddly garbage joke about everyone there wiping their asses with the Constitution after dinner. Surely the Family Guy creators are better than that.
Hi, Brian Griffin. They let me write some of the liberal jokes. How you liking them? Good, there's more coming.
If I rolled my eyes any harder, I'd be staring into the empty cavern where my brain used to lay. Then, of course, he shoehorns in another lame joke about Roger Stone taking the fifth because he's oh so clever. Peter chats up a totally not Russian guest at the party and ends up handing over his Gmail login and password, which the totally not Russian guest graciously accepts before immediately excusing himself to the bathroom. Meg wanders into the kitchen and stumbles across Ivanka Trump in all her beauty and grace.
Do you know who you're dealing with? My husband is the son of a felon who went to prison for blackmailing his brother-in-law by entrapping him with a prostitute and then mailing a copy of the tape to his own sister!
Donald's favorite daughter, ladies and gentlemen. The two girls bond over their dads being fat losers who have long since overstayed their welcome on TV, and Ivanka decides to give Meg a proper makeover using her line of products designed to make poor people think they look rich. I wonder how Stewie's doing during all this.
Many American baby things am I doing. What is your favorite ballistic missile launch codes?
Oh my days, Stewie ate the totally not Russian dude and picked up his accent. Guys, I have garbage jokes as well. Meg walks back into the ballroom and catches everyone's attention with how pretty she is, for DC standards, of course. She's thrilled at all the attention, and Ivanka decides it's time to take things a step further.
Let me introduce you to the president. He's kinda like my boyfriend.
Ivanka takes Meg to the Oval Office where the president is fluffing himself up for another public appearance. Ivanka leaves Meg alone with her father, and she starts gushing about how excited she is to be in D.C. now and to meet with the President of the United States, face to face for the first time.
And your fraudulent university and...
Oh, please. Every president since Washington has done this.
Can't say I didn't see that one coming. The next day, Meg confesses to her family that Trump touched her inappropriately, but this is Meg we're talking about, so of course, no one believes her. They're too busy watching CNN now that Peter's a major player on the political scene.
I can't get an erection.
You think giving them amnesty is fair to the people who are already here?
They're contributing to the economy. I've tried all the herbs.
Very astute observations. You're gonna make it big, Peter. I just know it. Speaking of which, Peter gets bumped up to the role of press secretary and holds a news conference for America's reporters, taking questions from himself, wearing different costumes. As he goes to the Oval Office to report on what he claims to be the best press briefing in American history, he realizes that there's only a butternut squash where the president should be, which then begs the question, where could the president be? Unfortunately for Trump, the Griffins walk in on him assaulting Meg, but this is Meg we're talking about. The family has higher priorities than her.
Oh my God! Bob's Burgers is on! This show speaks to us young people, apparently.
But that show looks like it was animated in a moving car.
Save Meg from being assaulted or take a pot shot at a rival show? The choice is obvious. Anywho, Peter calls out Trump for his disgusting behavior, but Trump flips the script and calls him out for insulting the people at Bob's Burgers, claiming that he's a jerk just like him. This catches Peter off guard at first, but he collects himself and hits Trump with a rebuttal that all of DC would be proud of.
I quit!
What?
My days of being mean and insulting are over. I'm gonna be the nice, kind Peter Griffin.
Everyone loves a good old-fashioned redemption arc. On the way out, Peter doubles down and says Trump's a terrible president compared to the greats that came before him, like Lincoln, FDR, and Cleveland. No, not that Cleveland. The one who married his friend's daughter that he knew since she was an infant, obviously. Back at home, Peter declares the Griffins are gonna turn things around and no longer be mean or insulting to anyone. Meg decides to be cheeky about it and asks for Peter to say something, literally anything, nice about her.
Your hair is, very... You're a hat owner. You're also headed.
Hey, I gotta commend him for actually powering through that. But of course, even that was too much for him, and he immediately gives up on being nice. Peter ends up crawling back to Trump and admitting that he was wrong about being able to turn over a new leaf, but he argues that Trump still needs to be held to a higher standard since he's the fracking president and all that, while Peter's just an ordinary guy. Trump counters by claiming Peter has had a massive negative influence on kids through the popularity of his show that spewed all sorts of racist and sexist jokes, but Peter hits him back by saying that while they could turn off his cartoon at any time, they can't turn him off. He's the president. No pun intended. Of course, Trump being Trump, he immediately takes Peter's criticisms to heart and becomes the best president this country has ever seen.
Yes, tremendous ratings. Our Leslie Nielsen ratings are the highest in history.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Leslie.
The ratings! Won't somebody think of the ratings? Peter goes full-on nuclear and calls Trump out for not being as rich as he claims to be, which is just the last straw for the dude. As Trump goes into a frenzy, he tackles Peter. The two start duking it out right in front of the presidential chopper. Melania's in there too, but surely she'll support her husband in this epic battle, right?
Catch! Kill him in front of me and I you.
Voila! Am I surprised? I don't know anymore. The two begin fencing with Trump's golfing irons across the White House lawn, and the Secret Service grabs some popcorn instead of intervening. Trump ends up tackling Peter through his agents and into the White House, where the fight spills out into the hallways for everyone to see. Thanks, Obama. They end up in the Oval Office, where Trump repeatedly slams Peter's face into two buttons that alternate between firing ballistic missiles and summoning waiters with ice-cold cans of Diet Coke. From there, it's a short walk, fight, into the press briefing room, and out into the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, where the water melts off all that Cheeto dust and reveals Trump in all his pasty glory. Obviously, he's not too pleased about that one. That hair is way more structurally sound than it has any right to be. A cop tries to step in, but Peter grabs his taser to shock all three of them, and the ensuing explosion launches them right into the House of Representatives chamber. The brawl starts to get way out of hand, if it wasn't already, as the two make their way into the Smithsonian Museum and hijack two planes. They immediately get into a head-on collision and land on top of the Washington Monument, where Peter is on the verge of falling to his death. Victory for Trump.
Grab my hand!
Well, that was unexpected. Both of them end up falling to their deaths, but they're saved at the last minute when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau inflates a safety cushion to break their fall. Peter and Trump make amends over their shared love for Vladimir Putin, and the Griffins finally make it back to Quahog, where they enjoy watching Peter fumble on Jeopardy and share a moment of relief that they don't have to step foot in the DC cesspool ever again. Surprisingly enough, Trump himself had very little to say about the episode, probably because the jokes were all so bottom of the barrel. Most of these were all bits you probably heard a million times already before this even aired, and I skipped a few of them just because I got tired of saying and hearing them. The writers were happy with themselves, though, and it seems that did resonate with some fans, so I mean, hey, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. But that's all I got for today, and if you want some more Family Guy goodness, click on the screen or right about now. Peace!